So let's do some more work on this program we have here. Now I'm going to put another function here. Now this function here, its role is going to be able to determine if a mark that is entered by the user is a fail, or it's a pass, or it's a merit, or a distinction, or a credit. Okay. Now those words, merit, credit, distinction, if I were to classify them in terms of what types of data are they, I'd say those are strings. So by default, this function is going to need to return a string. So I'm going to begin as a string. Okay, then I'll call it get grade. Okay, get grade. Okay, get grade. Okay, you may want to put that. Okay, get grade, and then I'll put a body to function. The next question you can ask yourself is what will this function require for it to work on? Now, this function should get a grade. A grade for what? For a mark, for a score. So obviously it should receive that particular score. So I'm going to declare a variable here. I'm going to call it mark. Okay, let me call it score. So this function is going to receive a score, and then it will use that to be able to determine the grade of that particular score. Now, what you can say here is let's create a variable here. Let's call it okay. Let's call it grade. Okay. Simply say grade. For now, we're going to say invalid. Okay. We're going to say invalid. So if the program checks for a particular score and it can't grade it, then obviously that grade must be invalid, and we're going to say should return this grade. Okay. Now, what else do we need to do? So let's now do some work on this grade. Okay. So here we're going to say if the score received is greater or equal to 0, okay, greater or equal to 0, then you can say if this is greater or equal to 0, and so I'm going to put and, okay, that's the and symbol there, and the score is greater or equal to. So let's try to think of the score, the grading system where up to 50, that is a fail. So this, if this is the case, we are going to say grade is equal to fail. Okay. Then you say else. Okay. Now here, when you say this, okay, we're saying suppose maybe the grade is from 0 to 100. What are you going to say? From 0 to 50. Otherwise, what are we going to say? We'll say if we check in the next range, you say if the score is greater than 50, okay, is bigger than 50. Now here I need to do this, okay. I'll remove equal sign, less than. So if the grade is greater or equal to 50, meaning somebody has passed, but the score is less than, let's say less than 58. Okay, as an example. In this case, we are going to say grade is equal to, this is a pass. Okay, so this is a pass. Otherwise, we're going to say else. Again, we'll do a check. If the score by a person is greater or equal to 58 and the score is less than, let's say 65, we're going to say this score is, we say this grade, this score is, we're going to say this is a credit. Okay, we're going to call this a credit. And again, if not, then we check in the next range. You say else. You say if the score, okay, if the score is greater or equal to 65 and the score is less than, okay, it's less than, let's say 75, okay, let's say 80 here, okay. So let's try to also extend this a bit. Let's make it this up to 69, so that even here we are going to say 69. and the score is less than 80. In this case, we are going to say this is the grade is a distinction. Oh, sorry, it's supposed to be merit. Okay, merit. Okay, merit. And then say if, so we'll say else. We'll do a check again here and say if the score is greater or equal to 80, okay, 80, and the score is less or equal to 100, okay, in that range, we are going to say this is it. We'll say this grade, okay, we say this grade is less, so this grade is going to be equal to a distinction. Okay. Distinction. Okay, this is distinction. Okay, and we end this. So obviously, if it's not in any of this, then by default it's going to remain in that range. Okay, so by default it's going to remain an invalid. Sorry about that. Okay, so how is this going to work? Now let's ignore this for now. Let's just declare another variable here. We're going to call it marks obtained. So what we're going to do is ask the user to say enter mark obtained. So someone will enter the mark obtained, and then you say cin, and then this is going to go into marks. The next thing is you can say, let's now put a comment. Okay, the grade is, we're going to just simply, the grade is, okay, let's say this mark is, okay, then the program put a comment here, this mark is. So here we're going to now do a call. Okay, what do we do? So the function name is called get grade. So preferably you can get this. That's what we are going to call. So we're going to get grade, and then we're going to put this get grade here. So make that go there, and then say max. Okay. So here we are saying we're going to make a call, say this mark is, and then we'll call get grade, so as it will determine the grade gotten by a person on the basis of the mark. So the value of marks is going to be passed to score, and it's going to use that score as a basis for determining in which grade or which category does that particular mark fall. Okay, let's try to execute this and see what it gives us. Okay. So our focus is just the first part, not the other side. So the mark of 10, let's say we put in, okay, that mark. So this mark is a merit. Okay, let's not bother about that. Fine, let's run this again. Okay, let's put a mark. Let's put 102. Okay, the program says this mark is invalid. Okay. Okay, let's try to another one here. Let's try to compile. Let's put in a negative 554. Okay, this mark is invalid. Okay, so this is working perfect. So we're able to see what's happening here. So we've made a function that we can call anytime. Whenever we've got any mark, we can simply give it the mark that we have, and it's going to grade the mark on our behalf very accurately. Okay, so hope this example illustrates to you more of what the function can do. We don't just return integers, but we can also return a number of data types. It could be Boolean or string, like in this case. So the next example, we'll try to also explore this subject a bit further. So try to look at the next video also.